What makes Frank Sinatra so distinct? He enunciates his words.
Yeah?
That's it.
Oh, sure.
Yeah, I put up with you. Yeah, I look like
amazing?
I look like Damon.
David Wyatt?
That guy, his name is
Oh, this one? Look at this.
Oh, that's
This
nice.
is brand new.
There goes my shoes.
Look at that.
And your pink.
Oh, that's cute.
Good shot.
Here, try it on.
The things
That's
I
a
get
good
into on Saturday. It's too big for me.
Except
These
they
are
don't
pretty
sell the
close,
one that
Steve.
says I love you 555.
Like this, like a Michael Jackson.
That's my handwriting.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, I thought
Hey everybody, hi. Welcome to Enter In. It's Saturday, a beautiful Saturday in October. The sun is out, it's warm. We're here in Studio City at Armani Wells clothing store for men. If you ever want to come on down and get yourself some really fine fashion at affordable prices, come see Claudia. I believe the address is 12404 Ventura Boulevard here in Studio City. Come check her out. She's got a lot of great stuff. But here we are, Enter In. This is it's no longer the pilot season. The pilots are over. We are now in full out production. This is season 1 of Enter In, and my first guest is one of my bestest friends in the whole wide world. I've known him about 23 years now, I think.
Wow.
23 years, yes. And for those of you that don't know the premise of this program, it's called Enter In because, first of all, you all are entering into something that's already going on. We have already been chit-chatting and shooting the breeze. And you guys are coming into our world to, just hang out with us for a while. I have some really good friends. I mean, he's such a busy person. He's involved in so many things. But he agreed to give up his Saturday of rest and relaxation to come out here and hang with me to share his testimony. So I'll let him share a little bit more. Whatever he wants to share, I leave it open. I don't tell people what to talk about. I let them tell me pretty much whatever it is they want to share. So I'm going to leave that floor open to you.
And so you want me to share a testimony about something I've overcome?
Yeah,
Or something?
yeah. Mm-hmm.
Well, how much time you got?
Well, we'll make it 2 or 3 episodes. How about that?
You know,
2 or 3
I think
episodes.
recently, though, in all seriousness, I think a word that comes, or that I've embraced in the space that I'm in lately is surrender. I'm surrendering control. Doing a better job of delegating in every area of my life. Family, ministry, work, meeting new friends. And I just think that's kind of where I'm at. That was something that was a big challenge for me.
Yeah.
Sometimes surrender is hard. It was hard for me because there's surrender. When I have a challenge to surrender, it's usually fear-based. There's always and fear has a lot of different, names, like procrastination, like anxiety,
Yeah.
depression.
Yeah.
Control. I mean, all those things are fear-based. So, some people call them like a deficit in our character defects. So yeah, I've really kind of surrendered a lot of things that I held on to for the last maybe 10 or 15 years, even as a minister.
Oh.
Yeah. So that's my testimony today. I mean, I would have a series of testimonies.
Well, can you give me, I like specifics. I like, can you carve out, because, we all have many testimonies.
Yeah.
As the years go by, we go in something, we come out. We go back in something, we come out. It seems like we spend more time in the going through than we come up and we get a little bit of air and then we're back down, having our character continually carved out for us to look more like what it's supposed to look like, making us better people.
Right.
But can you give me, I love hearing your story about how your mother raised 10 children and
That boring
how
story?
I love that story. I never get tired of hearing you talk about
Well-
what you went through as a kid.
Well, you know, I grew up in St. Louis,
Mm-hmm.
and my mom, you know, she had 10 children,
Mhm.
9 boys and 1 girl, and I'm the
Mhm.
6th child.
Mm-hmm.
I'm the 6th of her children. So, you know, I made up my mind as a kid. I can still recall that I was not going to be a broke. You know, I was going to be a wealthy person.
Mm-hmm.
As a child, I determined that I was going to be wealthy.
Mm-hmm.
Now, how that was going to take place, I don't know. And so, I think when I say surrender, I just surrendered everything to God in my personal life, in my financial life, in my business life. As you know, we just started a publishing company
Yeah.
called Noah's Ark Publishing.
Right.
And I think, you know, that was not something I aspired to do. I wasn't interested in becoming a publisher. And as you know, I wasn't interested in writing books. You helped me
Mhm.
write my first book, Your Gifts Are Not Your Purpose. But I just think over the years, it may sound like I'm not being specific, but I am. I had to learn to surrender everything to God. And so even being afraid of not having all the success I need
Mm.
growing up, like, is everything going to be all right? I mean, for years I wouldn't buy a house because
Mhm.
I don't know, can I keep the mortgage? I had that fear for years.
Mhm.
Of course, I purchased my first property when I was in my late 20s.
Mm-hmm.
But to give an example, like, no, I can't buy a house. You know, I won't be able to make the mortgage because I'm playing music, and will I be able to have the money? And so,
Mm-hmm.
if I really trust in God, and I'm a steward of all of His creation,
Mm-hmm.
my finances, my family, then yeah. So I've learned to surrender everything.
How? How do you go from that place of fear to faith, where you can surrender and just be, you know what, okay? Because, you know, oftentimes I think we have that inner struggle. It can be difficult to surrender the reins of our lives,
Mhm.
you know? And even though we say, you know, we believe that God is there and that He's going to take care of us, and we believe that, you know what I'm saying? And I know it's real, but to actually literally say, okay, God, here,
Well,
I just really give this over to you. And it's progressive too. Doesn't happen all at once sometimes, right?
but I always find that most Christians, we always have something we hold on to.
Mm.
For example, look at the enemy's territory. Look how the enemy will have us on drugs, smoking, promiscuity, all the various things, going to, you know, gambling, if that's what you do, okay. But in the kingdom of the enemy, in the kingdom of darkness, hey, we take risk, or we took risk, right?
Yeah.
It's a big
Good
risk to be afraid all the time. I mean, really, like, I'm afraid all the time. That takes a lot of work.
But it's something that we have become accustomed to, is living in that trough of fear.
Yeah, but if you look at the enemy or the kingdom of darkness or the kingdom of the world, you know, God says, I don't know if this is a Christian program or not, I don't know,
Well,
but I know that scripture in Romans chapter 12, verse 1 or 2, it says, don't be conformed to this world, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind. So that paraphrase that scripture, it means, don't try to do what the rest of the world is doing. As believers, we should lead. So no, we Christians, I know I do and did. There's still areas in my life I still held on to. I wouldn't give up. I mean, if we're honest, come on. I mean, Christians are their faith is contingent on something. I'll give up a little bit. Even in tithing, I'll pay the tithe. I'll do my tithe when everything's doing well.
Yeah.
I mean, I'll pay my tithe, but if things are not going well, I don't pay my tithe. So, various levels of surrender. Growing up, walking my faith out. Yeah, I've learned that as believers, we still hold on an area in our life, and there were some areas in my life that I was not surrendering and just let God have everything. So when God said on the plane, I was flying on a plane from North Carolina, and God says, I want you to have a publishing company and call it Noah's Ark Publishing.
That's crazy.
I'm like, Noah's Ark Publishing?
What?
what am I going to do with Noah's Ark Publishing? So there were two people next to me, one of them whom you know, Carolyn Phillips. And I leaned over and said, hey, Carolyn, do you think Noah's Ark Publishing Service is a good name? She says, yeah, it's great. And so God said, and so I saw a vision I saw people coming onto the ark with their stories. Instead of animals coming onto the ark, entering the ark two by two, I saw people coming on 2 by 2 with their stories, with their burdens, with their testimonies, testimonies that no one knows. And true to fact or form, a lot of the people who come to me now to write their books, they feel safe with Noah's Ark. So here's a place where they can feel safe to write and express themselves, and when the time comes where they'll be safe in that, that 40 days of storm in their life. So yeah, it may sound like I'm not being specific, but it took me a long time to get here to say, you know what, God, I'm going to surrender my anxiety, which I had, continually worrying about it's not enough.
That's a real thing. That anxiety, until you experience that, if y'all haven't experienced that, don't think that you are can be a stranger to that. I would never think that I would have ever felt anxiety, but I have had that experience sometimes. It's just out of nowhere.
Yeah, and anxiety is, it's fear-based.
Yeah.
It's an overwhelming of something. A lot of times they say something you haven't given up or let go of. My definition of anxiety is the fear of what I need will not be there when I get there. Anxiety is the fear of what I need will not be there. So we always live in a space of anticipation. So now I'm anticipating I'm going to be anxious. And so I'm anxious about being anxious.
Wow.
Did you get that? Anxious about being anxious.
Yeah.
And then it just continues to go.
Isn't that something?
So, we both experienced that in our lives older, because we're not children anymore. Did you notice that we're not kids anymore?
No, we're just 29.
Plus.
And a couple extra years.
My friend Kev Mo says, I go, Kev, how old are you? He says, 29. 48. Now
he takes that.
Yeah, he takes a long pause. Yeah, surrender is the key to freedom, financial freedom. I just think there are 3 areas in our life that are pretty principal: faith, family, and finance. Yeah. Those are the 3 big F's.
Family, and
so usually in one of those areas we don't surrender.
Yeah.
Faith, I wasn't surrendering everything, and I just wasn't surrendering things in my family life that I could have surrendered in my family life. So now I just kind of, I kind of had my career first in my 20s. So now my family's first. Yeah. But it was still fear-based. You're talking about a kid who didn't have a father. I never knew who my natural father was. Still don't. So, there are some fears centered around it. There's some overcompensation that someone like me has. We would function from various forms of abandonment. So I surrender all that. It's not compartmentalized. It's not being specific. There is surrender is big. Even when we come to God, we surrender. The first thing you do. So that first surrender, when you say, Lord, I'm a sinner. Please come in my life, save me. Right? That's just a first step. It's a progress. When we were in the world, and all of us can attest to this or relate to this. When you were in the world, think about all the crazy things you did. Think of all the risk you took. Do you do that for God? Think about. That's.
Don't make me look like this on the show.
Yeah. Just think about all the drugs. Not that you were on drugs, but just think of all the crazy risks that we took. All the crazy. So when God tells us to do, when God says something like, "Hey, Sean, just stand over there and wait for this preacher to come out the door," this is the inside joke. And we go, but I'm being serious. And we go, "Oh God, well I can't do it." And God's going, "But you did that when you were in the world." That's what I mean. Like we get with God and go, because it's all about us and how we look. So our reference point is always us or the negative experiences that we've encountered. We approach God like we approach disappointed circumstances. Hey there. I can't help it. I like dogs.
Guys, really pretty dogs.
Let's interview the dogs.
Really pretty dogs. Yeah.
Yeah, I think I've said something I never said before.
Yeah.
faithless Christian.
That's a hard pill
It's,
to hear.
it's the truth. Hey,
That's like, oh my gosh, because you don't want the Christian community to,
look at the world.
represent like that.
Well,
You know what I'm
the
saying?
Christian community, every Christian was first a sinner, or an active sinner, right?
Yes.
So we were active because we're all sinners saved by grace.
Mhm.
But like actively participating in acknowledged sin,
Mhm.
exercising that.
Mhm.
So we come from that.
Mhm.
So we get saved, and then we get this whole reservation about everything.
Yeah.
We overthink. Yeah, but when we were in the world, we were doing this, we were going here, we just get up and go, we'd fly places. I know I used to just anything, and then you get saved, and it's God says, now God's talking to us where we can hear him, whether in word, vision, dreams, song, children, because God speaks to us in various forms and ways. And we're hesitant. We're like, that Bible verse, and I'm done because I feel my preacher coming. It says in Hebrews 11:1, this is a specific type of faith, right?
Okay.
Now faith is the substance of things hoped for and the evidence of things not seen. That's a particular kind of faith. That's not the faith that you get saved. That's not the faith that the Hebrews 11:6 that says, without faith it's impossible to please God. This type of faith is, if you want this right now faith, you have to just go ahead and do it.
You have to just jump.
You got to jump. Who's our comedian?
Steve Harvey.
I haven't even read that book. I keep hearing about
He
it.
says, just jump, no matter what. Even though you can't see your way, you don't know what's ahead of you, just take the risk.
And how many Christians just jump?
You do.
Yeah, I do now.
Now.
But I mean.
Well, you've been doing that for a long time, almost
right,
as long as I've known you.
But there are other areas in my life that you can't see,
That's true.
but I do.
That's true.
We all have it. My testimony today is, no, I'm learning to surrender it all.
Learning to surrender.
Not surrender my strong points that I already had in the world. There's some things we bring to God that we already had, but I want to surrender it all. And to surrender just means I'm confronting my fears.
Well, I think as we come to a close, because we won't make this a long one, because we know the attention span of folks these days is very short, But my dear friend Laval says that he is learning to surrender it all. We do need to surrender, but there is a learning process. And so how do you learn to do that? What tip can you give someone that might be in that space where they know they need to surrender, but they don't know quite how? Hello? Who's calling on the cell phone right now?
That's probably for you.
Put it on me. What's a tip that you can give those that might be going through that season of struggle, knowing that they need to let something go, they need to give something up, right? In order to move forward.
Well, that same Bible verse that I gave, I'm very practical. I'm a pragmatist, even in Scripture. That same Bible, that same chapter of Romans, chapter 12, verses 1 and 2, it says, be transformed by the renewing of our mind. And so that word transform means to go from one place to another. It takes, no matter what we say, to walk from there to here is a process. Just get started. Just start walking. And you're going to say there's no lightning to that. It isn't. But for some people, as a publisher, to get people just to start writing. I mean, just get started. And it starts with the mind, to make the decision. Connect your feet with your thoughts, or connect your actions with your thoughts. And that's really it. It's that simple. You get started, he'll take the rest. Some people say, the old folks say, you take one step, he'll take two.
Yeah. Couple of other little things I want to throw in. Laval is an author, and right now he is working on moving his book out. Now it's the second book, Your Gifts Are Not Your Purpose. He has volume 1, Gifts Are Not Your Purpose, but then now he's doing Gifts Are Not Your Purpose workbook. Okay, the workbook. And if any of you out there don't know what your purpose is, you feel like there's something rumbling on the inside of you that's calling you to do something, make a contribution to this planet. but you don't know quite how to put it all together. I wish you had a book that I could put up, but anyway, go to his website, lavaldreams.com, LAVALDREAMS.com.
Or they can
And you
just go
should
to
be able to
Amazon.com.
Or you can go to Amazon.com
Yeah.
and find it there. It's called Your Gifts Are Not Your Purpose Workbook. You need to get that book. It will help you, seriously. And it's a quick read as well, all right? So, anyway, thank you,
Thank
my
you.
friend.
Thanks,
Love
Sharon,
you
for
to
having me.
pieces, you know.
Appreciate it.
My friend for 23 years. Thank you, Damon. Damon, put your fingers in front of the camera and wave at people. Hi, everybody. We love you, and we're out. Have a great day. Bye.